welcome back to the Wild Thoughts Pod. I'm your co-host, Afi.
And I'm your co-host, Kat.
And today we're back with episode 3 of season 6.
Yes.
Woo! We're going to be talking about how to know if you're settling in relationships. So we're going to give you the signs, maybe some advice, the tips and tricks.
I think this is a big topic that a lot of people don't talk about.
It is heavy, yeah. But I think it's good to talk about, especially in our generation. We're more aware of it, I think. Yeah. And we point it out more, like...
Yeah. I do think most of the time it's an internal battle, though. Like, we get scared to talk about it, so...
But then it's also like, are you overthinking? Do you have unrealistic expectations of love? Like, whoa.
Oh my god, you know what?
Unrealistic
expectations of love? Because I was listening to an episode on Girls Gotta Eat. They had a guest that... kind of, I forgot what the title of the episode was, but he deals with men and he's like specializes in men and
how they
and like how they react in relationships. And he was saying that a lot of the time men feel neglected in their relationship because they have unrealistic expectations put on them, so they feel more unhappy because they can't meet those expectations.
Oh shit.
Okay, now I feel bad. No, it's not that. Like, honestly, I'm gonna send you the episode because that's really interesting.
Because men and women do think differently. Like, it's just the way that our brain is wired.
And like he had some insights on like how men think in terms of relationship problems and like even sex problems, like stuff like that.
Like how they would go about it.
Yeah, and how they think they need to appear to the woman.
Yeah.
Like, it's really interesting. I'm gonna I'll link it in this episode if you guys are curious.
It's a really toxic masculinity, I guess it goes with it. Yeah, like, exactly. They feel like they have to show a certain image, like they can't be weak or cry. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. Or like, we can talk about different types of like men and how they think.
Because this was also part 2 of another episode they did, but I can't remember the first episode. Okay. So I'll send it to you guys. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the question of the week. Yes. So we asked our followers, do people have a tendency to settle in their relationships? 62% of our followers said most of the time, and only 38% said nah, don't think so.
So it seems like a lot of people perceive that people are settling.
Exactly.
I wonder if those people are people in relationships or not, or it's a mix.
So I was actually looking at that. Yeah. And it was a mix.
Yeah, a mix. Yeah.
I think there were a lot of people that said, nah, don't think so. They were more on the single side, though.
Yeah. Okay.
But the people that said most of the time was a mix.
Okay, so for me, I feel like it's in between. I know that's like not a straight up answer because I think that now we're much more aware of like, oh, doing things for you. You don't have to be in a relationship because I was telling Kathy too before how like our goal, even growing up in movies, everything, we're taught that like, oh, a relationship is like a big part of our life and valuable, like a romantic, it's like a goal maybe of ours to achieve, and if we don't have it, we're not successful or we're like unworthy, like all of this. So I feel like now we're more, especially as women, we're more like, no, we don't have to be in relationships. And so I think people don't settle either because they know that their standards they're okay to have high standards and it's okay to want certain things and they're not like impossible. But then on the other hand, I still think people have certain, like, they want to be in relationships, so they're gonna try to like get in there because there's still that pressure in society. Like, we can't completely erase that. Yeah. But then also mixed with like, oh, are we expecting too, like, is it unrealistic? Because I think unrealistic standards and then settling is like two different things, but it's hard to differentiate sometimes.
But it's also, people have their own non-negotiables.
Yes, that's important.
Exactly. Yeah. That I feel like sometimes they let go of because they're like, oh, I'm not going to find anything with these high expectations.
They're like a timeline.
Exactly. But it's your non-negotiable, so you should stick to it. Exactly. I think I'm kind of on your side where it's kind of a mix. I think when you're younger, or not really younger, but like fresh into the relationship world, I think that's when settling happens because you don't really know how to navigate a relationship, right? And you don't know what exactly you want from a relationship, what your partner needs. Like, you're still kind of like learning how to be with someone. Exactly. So I think that's when settling happens, and that I think that happens a lot of times with high school romances. Yes. Where they're like, okay, I'm so comfortable with this person and like we've known each other forever, we have a long history, that okay, I'm just gonna be in this relationship then. Like, I don't know,
you barely know what you're doing in high school.
It's kind of like
you have nothing to compare it to as much.
Exactly. And you're so comfortable in it, so you're like, what more can I need?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but you don't fully know what you actually would need.
You're not as aware.
Your only relationship.
Exactly.
You know?
No, 100%.
I think it also depends on age. Like if you're starting a new relationship and let's say like your first relationship is like mid to late 20s or something like that, I think it is different because at that point you know how to navigate general relationships.
Right.
And you know how to stand your ground. Well, like hopefully.
Yeah.
You know how to stand your ground and you're more like aware of what you need as a person because I feel like you work a lot on yourself in your 20s.
Yeah.
So I think it does differ between that as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a tricky
situation. It really we always say it really depends on everything.
It's a tricky situation, but we do have tips to give you guys on how to kind of call yourself out to see if you are settling in your relationship.
Exactly. How to navigate those thoughts and just like doubts, if anything. Yeah.
So let's get into our notes here. We did our brainstorm. First, I kind of want to just let us talk about what settling actually means.
Yeah.
So when you're settling in a relationship, you're staying with someone that you don't necessarily like are drawn to the relationship. You don't really want to, but you're kind of like comfortable with them and you feel like you're obligated to them or you're scared that you won't find anyone else.
Yeah,
so you just stay with them.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's like if you don't find value necessarily, I don't like everyone's valuable, but to you specifically, if that person isn't bringing anything, if it's not like making an impact, I think on you and your life, and if you're just being in it to be in it,
if they feel like a roommate, more than like a person you're in a relationship with, I think that's when you kind of like know that you're settling. I also saw an interesting fact when I was doing research that they said to remember that settling does not equal compromising. So I feel like a lot of the times people don't realize that they're settling because they're like, oh, this is something we have to compromise on. So like
it's a sacrifice for the relationship.
Exactly. I'm going to sacrifice this because I love the person. I just want to continue the relationship. I want us to be happy, blah, blah, blah. But if you're constantly the one sacrificing...
Depends what you're sacrificing to.
Exactly.
And like you said, are they sacrificing stuff? A compromise is two people. Exactly. You can't just have me meeting you at the end of your line. You know what I mean?
It's like you have to meet halfway. And also this is kind of what I was saying before. Like if you had non-negotiables where you're like, I'm not sacrificing this, but you find yourself sacrificing and doing it anyway just because you're like, I want to make the person happy and I want us to be happy overall.
Exactly. Sometimes also when you're in a relationship with someone for a long time, it's hard to like, when you are sacrificing things, to be like, okay, nope, I'm settling and then get out. Because you don't think of it that way, especially if you got to know them for so long, you like love them, develop all these feelings, but it still can be settling. Or maybe at the beginning you're not settling. Like, you know, as a relationship develops, I feel like things get more complicated. You have to talk about different things. Maybe at the beginning you didn't have those discussions yet, or those weren't things you were worried about, and then later on. So I feel like it can change maybe.
I do think, like from personal experience, I've only had one relationship, but I feel like in my relationship, I think it takes 2 years to actually know someone.
It takes so long.
It's like, yes, you can know the person that you're with, but like to know their like mentality, their habits, like how they would react to something. I feel like you need 2 years of relationship to really get to know.
You have to go through like a cycle of different types of events. You know, you can't just take it from like, look, you have to know how they react. How are they when they get angry? Like important stuff.
If you travel with them, how they are as a traveler, like that's big. You
have to see them like through each emotion.
Exactly. No, for sure.
You know.
But yeah, so that's a bit about what settling is. So now let's get straight into the nitty gritty. Let's get into how to recognize if you're compromising versus settling. So there's four questions that you should be asking yourself, and kind of, I think you should always take the time to think about this, even if you feel like your relationship is solid, just to make sure that you're in the right relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. As you're getting to know them.
Exactly. So again, like we just said, are you always the one that's making the sacrifice? If you're making the sacrifice just to make your partner happy and you're not seeing them change certain things about themselves in order to cater to you or your lifestyle, then it's kind of like, what are you doing here? You're just appeasing them. You're not really sharing the relationship.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, a relationship is not a necessity. So it's not like, oh, I need to make all these sacrifices to like it's my survival. Like I need this. No. So at that point, if you're sacrificing like all the things that mean so much to you, might as well, you can just be alone and not sacrifice those things, you know, or find someone where you don't have to make those non-negotiable compromises, you know what I mean? So it's like, being single is an option and you can be just as happy. So if you compare that life, like, oh, would I be happier single, keeping all the things that I'm already doing and finding someone else maybe, then there's...
So it reminds me, I don't know if you saw The Ultimatum, if you watched it.
Yo, that show. Okay, everyone was talking about it, so I'm like, okay, let me go watch it. And
it's stupid. It's so stupid.
Okay, at first I was interested, getting bored, but then after I'm like, yo, what is this? This is boring because they don't go in depth. Nothing happens.
I think the show is designed to make relationship fail.
Yeah, like it's like, but I just don't understand. Like, you know, what's her name? Madeline and her guy, they had a whole fight. Now what? They're engaged. They're pregnant. It's scripted though, for sure. Pregnant. That because it doesn't make sense. How did you?
She hated him,
and she didn't even want to get married, and now you have a baby together.
She hated him. I was like, what's going on?
He annoyed me though, Colby.
At first, I felt bad for him, and then he cheated on her and like was gaslighting her. I'm like, ugh.
But I'm like
what is this relationship?
Cheating, like not even being with, you have to be with someone in the experiment, not like an outsider at a
exactly.
club,
I'm like, you literally cheated.
You cheated, and then
stop excusing this. But
that's why it's like I didn't understand what was happening because she was mad at him, and then the next thing I know, she's like accepting.
It was a lot. Anyways, don't want to get into the drama of that. Too much. But what I was thinking was, I don't know if you saw when they got together before they had to decide who they want to be with. Someone proposed to the other person. Then the second person that proposed.
Oh,
I forgot their names because they're irrelevant and I find them dumb. Nate and is it Alexis? No.
Oh, maybe. Actually.
I don't know. Anyways, the second couple that got engaged. Everyone was pissed at them for getting engaged, rightly so, because they didn't actually solve the problem that they came with.
Yes.
So the problem was that the guy wanted to have children.
Yeah.
This was the only problem in their relationship. That's what they said. So the problem was that he wanted kids, but she didn't want kids. Right. Or she didn't know if she wanted kids. Yeah. But was more on the, like, no probably side. Not.
Yeah.
So that was the problem in their relationship. The only reason that it seemed like he actually proposed to her because he didn't connect with anyone else and no one was choosing him.
I was like, this guy,
no one was choosing
clown.
Him. So he proposed after someone else already got engaged, so it looked very fake to everyone around.
Exactly. His attitude was very like defensive. Yeah.
So then everyone kind of forgot about them. They come on the reunion, they're still engaged, and she said, I am now open to having one kid. That's our compromise. Yeah. To me, that's not a compromise. Yeah. Because kids are a huge deal.
That's like a big part of your life. Yeah. It's not like, okay, stop going out with your friends.
Exactly. And if you were so against having kids at first, and now you're like, okay, maybe one, you're going to resent that child.
It's going to be like our Reddit post.
If you listen to our last episode, like, moms that have kids without wanting to have kids, they're going to resent them.
I think they're both kind of settling, but he convinced her to give him what he wants, so he's gonna be okay in the end because he's not gonna feel what she feels. Exactly. He wants to have a child. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a big problem, like you said, because it's like a non-negotiable. It's a big part. Like having a child, you can't take it back after.
Exactly.
And it's not like, okay, I changed my mind. And I think it's like he also thinks like the motherly. Not every woman wants to be a mom, and I think we need to understand that.
And he was saying like she's gonna be a great mom.
But it's like that is not
doesn't
the point.
Matter. She can be a great aunt.
Exactly.
She doesn't have to have her own child.
But even like the Reddit post, the person is a great mom, but doesn't mean they wanted to be.
Exactly.
The mom.
That's why she's gonna grow to resent that child. Like I already know that relationship is doomed.
Yeah. She seems like a nice person though. She seems.
But
like
it's
really
she's sacrificing her decision to not wanting to have kids just to be with him.
Yeah. Like even one. Then what if he's like, I want another one?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not gonna stop.
Yeah,
because he really wants to be a dad. Like
he like remember he kept saying.
He said it to everyone. He's like, I really want to have kids. That's my issue in my relationship. Blah blah. Like that was his opening line basically when he was talking with everyone. Right. So it's like.
And why can't it be the other way where like, well, even that would suck for him at the end of the day because he would be settling, but it's like he just proposed to you saying, oh, I don't need, you're my family.
Exactly. He said, I don't need to have kids, and now you're coming to say we compromised on one. Like,
but I think she also felt bad because remember after the engagement they were in the room and they were saying, I can't let you like marry me without
So something, yeah. Anyways, so that's the question that she needs to ask herself, because she's the one sacrificing in that relationship, and that's a huge decision.
That's like your life is changing. Yeah. That's a life-changing decision.
Exactly. Let's go on to the next question you should ask yourself. So, are you letting go of your future aspirations just to fit into their lifestyle or make yourself look less impressive? I think this is a huge thing, especially because of the stigma that it's like the man should make more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always
like
say,
letting them do their stuff with their dreams.
Money is always a problem in relationships. And I think in order to overcome that problem, you have to talk freely about it and not get upset with each other.
Exactly. Can't be a competition. Like she was like, oh, less impressed. Like don't make yourself smaller or just be who you are. If you're making more money, like they should just be comfortable with that.
They should be supporting you.
Exactly.
They should be excited that you're actually making this money.
At the end of the day, it's like, why does it matter? Yeah. It's your own, technically it's your own individual money, but if you're looking to get something together, like, okay, like there are ways to do that. It's not a big, even on the ultimatum though, I remember that a lot of people, like, finance was a big deal.
All of the guys saying, I'm not financially ready for this.
So the pressure, like we were saying about the...
Exactly. That's why.
Oh man, do women have to do better?
Do women have to do better?
Oh no.
That's the question.
But no, I agree. And even if you're taking into consideration the couple we just spoke about and the kids and all that, it's like she's making to fit into his lifestyle of wanting to be a dad. So he's like, let me pop one out for you. But it's like, no.
And it's also like, are you letting go of future aspirations? Let's say your like
dreams or
for example, you find a job that's amazing for you, but it's in another country. Is he gonna move with you, or your partner? Are they gonna move with you?
Would you, oh my god, a career? It's like, would you give that up for a partner?
Yeah.
But it's like, why is it that the relationship is more important? Like, why is one more than the other? Like, how do you decide that?
Yeah. That's honestly, tricky, that goes down to your personal relationship. Right. But it's like, you have to talk it out. And like, if you're already like, yeah, I'm not going to take this job because I know he's not going to move.
That's not a good sign. But if you're saying it because, oh, I really want to be with this person, I feel like it'll make it too difficult. I'm valuing my relationship above. Like, it depends how you evaluate it. Yeah.
Exactly. So third question, are you ashamed to talk about your relationship problems?
Because people are going to judge.
Exactly. So I feel like when you have relationship problems, you should have a support system in place, like whether it's your friends or your family, that you can go to someone and you can talk freely about it and kind of just like mediate the situation. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, get opinions.
Yeah. But I feel like if you're scared to talk about it, it's because you know something is wrong. Yeah. You know?
Or, like, yes and no, because sometimes it could be that your friends are going to see it a certain way because of, like, what social media you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but maybe in your, like, it really depends, but I understand the point. It's like, if you can't really talk about it or you're scared, it may be a sign that you are, like, you're not putting yourself first or taking into consideration, because your friends are always going to have your back. They're going to be like, well,
they're going to see the situation from your side, obviously. Exactly. Well, hopefully they don't. I guess they'll have a bit of bias because, like, they're your friends.
Exactly.
But I think, like, a lot of the times if you're ashamed to talk about something, it's because you know something's up.
Is up, yeah. Or like, inside of you that you're compromising or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing necessarily, or that maybe, and it's probably because you're scared to hear, like, you don't want your friend to be like, you should leave him,
and you know that's what they're gonna say. Exactly. And you're scared about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're scared of coming out of your comfort zone, leaving a relationship to go, like, if you're not used to that or you've been comfortable.
There's a lot of things. Yeah. Okay, and last question, are you excited over your imperfect future or just scared of being alone? So obviously there's always going to be stuff, like external factors that's going on in your relationship, even internal stuff. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Yeah. So it's like, are you ready to accept that and move on with your lives together? Or you just like, I'm comfortable with this person. I don't want to get out of my comfort zone, like you said, and explore other relationships. So I'm just going to stick through this.
With them, exactly. I think a lot of people are scared to be alone, though. Like,
yeah.
I mean, even me personally, I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, like, because it's not something we're used to seeing anywhere. It's kind of out of the ordinary, like, not out of the ordinary, but it's not the norm yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's like scary. Like, and that's totally understandable. Like, I understand. I'm scared too, but because being alone can just be I think people just are scared of the unknown, of something they don't know, they're not familiar with.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I'd rather just have someone there, even if they're not the best person for me, or like.
I do think doing that is so exhausting, though.
It drains
it's like
you.
you're keeping up an act.
Exactly. You know? But because they don't know the other side, or they're not willing to give it a try, they're like, oh, it's better than not knowing. I'm comfortable in this, might as well. Or they think that this is normal, like the relationship that they have of like feeling drained or doubting yourself, or I don't know. I guess people are just used to having a physical partner just there.
Yeah.
So they don't always question it or like think anything of it all the time.
Yeah. But that's why like I think asking yourself these questions are important, even if you are in a happy relationship, just to make sure that like this is it.
Exactly.
Like, I'm solid here. We're solid together, like we're good.
Especially for people though, I wonder like how do you, like if you've been in a relationship ever since high school, let's say, like everything, like you can't even, you don't even have the time to really think because you're just like going, this is what I know. So I'm like, I wonder if it's hard for those people, or like I know I've seen like that a lot of people that have been in relationships a long time aren't single very often. So like not everyone, but some people. Yeah. So it's like interesting. So I wonder how that works. Like
if you've been in a high school relationship, I know a few people that have.
But then also now I'm thinking, if you've been with different types of people, then you're not settling because you broke up with them to find someone else.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. If you've been with someone through high school and you're still together, like that's amazing, but also like make sure you're asking yourself these questions, because like what if you're just settling because you're comfortable? Yeah. You know? Or
even the people that are coming out and going with other people, maybe they're settling in terms of like they'd rather be alone.
If they're serial monogamous, you're saying?
Exactly. Like always with exactly. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. Let's move on to reasons why you may be settling. So first thing, you may be in denial. So you may just be neglecting what you personally need, what your partner needs, or you're just like, you're not happy, but you're like, well, I'm in this relationship, I'm going to stick through it.
You're not always evaluating like where we are now and thinking of like being in the present moment. You're not consciously like critically thinking all the time, right? Because that's even exhausting sometimes to do that all the time. And as we change, I don't think like we realize when we're growing. Like for me, I feel like in my head, I think I'm the same person I was 5 years ago, but I'm not.
You're not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't actively always, you have to sit down and think about it. And I think that's healthy too, to like, because sometimes you only do that when questions arise or something ticks you off.
This is why people encourage journaling.
That's actually, that's true.
Which we should be doing.
Because I write how you're feeling.
I did do it for a couple of months and then I forgot about it, but I think we should be doing it because like it really helps you self-reflect and like kind of, what's the word?
Self-reflection.
No, but it's like
self-awareness.
It grows your self-awareness because you see your progression in life.
Exactly. You know? And you're actually like writing down how you're feeling. Then you can read past yourself.
Exactly. You can pinpoint in the past, like, wow, I was so childish reacting to this situation. Way, this is how I would react this time, you know?
Exactly.
So I think like journaling, like we always say, is super huge. We need to get on it too.
Yeah, it gives you concrete, like writing stuff down. You can actually like physically see it.
Okay, so another thing is illusion. So we make up who our partner is in our mind and we kind of like put them on this pedestal and be like, they're such an amazing person. They treat you so well, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But are they actually?
Yo, I feel like we do that, especially if you do it at the beginning, but then it's hard to like knock that off unless they do like, they have a drastic like toxic action or something like that will throw you off. But you create this illusion in your mind, especially when you like someone, but what are you liking them for? Because they're cute, but then you associate them being cute with their whole personality. You're like, oh, their personality is great because they're cute. Like,
but this is why I say like it takes 2 years to fully know someone. But it can happen even 10 years in.
Yeah. But you also have to put yourself in the mindset that you are evaluating them from an outside perspective and not just happy, like, honeymoon phase because you're in it and you just have some, you know, it's so wild.
Because it could be that they're just constantly trying to meet your expectations, so you don't realize that that's not who they actually are.
They mimic what you want.
Exactly. Because they're like, I know this makes my partner happy, even if it doesn't make me happy, but I'll do it anyway.
Exactly.
And then you realize 10 years in,
they're not this
in
person.
An argument, they spit out, I hate doing this, by the way. And you're like,
excuse me.
What?
But even when you're first dating, you're putting on, like we said, your best self. You're literally trying to be what the ideal is. Like, even I've done that before. Like, I have to do this, order a salad. Like, weird shit.
Don't
like
order
that.
salad.
Just eat
have a burger. I had a burger on my first date.
No, but go for I want to be free
we
like that.
To a burger joint.
I literally want to be free. Like, I want to have the type of freedom Kathy has. I don't even like salads. Here I am. Like, bro.
Oh my god. I spit my water.
If y'all don't see me ordering, like, French fries next time, you know I'm lying.
Call her out. Walk up to her and be like, hey,
I know sis. You don't like this right now.
Oh my god.
But so it is the dating world, just it's so, I feel like we're overthinking now, but I think it can be simple, but only when you're at the right place in your life, like, you know yourself and what you want and, like, accepting yourself, loving yourself, all of that. But
exactly.
It's always an up and down.
Yeah. Okay, so another reason might be shame. So we feel unworthy or inadequate and can even feel, like, undeserving of love. So you're kind of like, well, he actually paid attention to me. He wants to be in a relationship. It doesn't have to be he. I'm just generalizing. But they actually want to be in a relationship with me. I'm not going to find anything better than this, so I'm just going to stay in this.
I feel like a lot of people do this. I think I even do it sometimes, but, like, you're like, oh, this is good enough for me. Because it's, like, the fact that he's even just showing me love, like, me, like, but no,
like me, like,
no, but a lot of people think that, and I don't think they realize it, and they, like, downplay, like, oh, yeah, like, that's good. Like, oh, I'm gonna, like, someone likes me. Like, but you have so much to offer. Like, you have to value yourself. You've done so much. And I think you need to write a list of, like, who you are, everything you're proud of. And, like, we need to do that.
And it's this really kind of spills into another reason where you can just be insecure or you have a low self-esteem. So you're just like, this is kind of what happens, I feel like, in abusive relationships and why people stay because they're like, I'm not going to find anyone that loves me like he does, even though I'm not going to say he. I think even people are like, well, even though they sometimes hurt me, they love me on this day. And, like, you know, so if you like, don't, if you don't have that confidence in yourself, you just accept that that's how it should be.
Then, and also it's confusing if you have good days and bad days, because when you have the good days, you're like, oh, they're fine, they're nice, and that was just a bad moment or something. But then I guess if it happens a lot, then you're like, okay, something's wrong.
I've had a few people in toxic relationships, not abusive, but, like, toxic relationships where I, like, sat them down. I'm like, listen, if you have one good day out of the 7 bad days, what's happening here? Why would you stay in this?
Exactly.
You know?
It's not even worth it.
So you really got to self-reflect and be like, am I just in this because I myself don't have confidence to be my own person? Which also leads into the next one. If you're too codependent on your partner and you're like, you need them in your life just to be with someone.
Exactly. And just like, because you don't know, like, you don't know how to be alone or just, like, exist in your own space. But even to me, sometimes I feel like, oh, okay, like, I don't have anyone. But, like, you just have to learn to work through that, because finding a relationship that you're not happy in isn't going to make you feel less lonely. You might, because I think people don't realize that being in a relationship doesn't mean you're not lonely automatically, because you can feel lonely, especially if you're an abusive or toxic. Like, you can just feel as alone because you're not getting the love that you need and deserve. So
yeah, exactly. And if you're too codependent on your partner, it can cause a lot of tension in the relationship, and your partner may feel like they have to overcompensate because you're not, I'm not going to say stable, but, like, you're always secured in your relationship.
Leaning on the other person. So the other person,
like, if they're unhappy, I'm unhappy, which is like, no, you should be trying to get, like, make them feel better, not be and have individual
feelings. Because then if you're both unhappy, how are you going to help each other out through that?
Another reason could be a fear of abandonment or rejection, which I think that's huge. Because people stay in relationships just because they're like, I'm not going to find anyone else.
Yes. 100%.
if I try to go with someone else, then like if I keep dating and like
when am I gonna settle down?
Exactly. It's like a lot of the time dating is hard. Yes, honestly, it's a struggle. It's a sport. Let me say
it's a whole activity.
Yeah, it's a whole ass sport. It's the freaking Gold Cup. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's
you're
hard
constantly
to win.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if you're constantly going on dates and you're not actually getting anywhere with these, like that could be scary.
Yeah,
because then
you could feel like something's what's wrong with me?
Yeah,
but that shouldn't be your first thought. Exactly. Because you're also looking for certain things. Maybe you didn't like that person. Like, how are you? It has to be a two-way thing, right? Mm-hmm. You can't always be desperate. Like, oh, why didn't they? Yeah. But did you like them? Yeah. Did you actually feel like you could fit with them? Or were they just like the first option? Like, I feel like we need to evaluate that. It's not always like, why didn't they like me? Why didn't they call me?
100%.
Did you like, no.
Dating should be fun, like we always say. It should be just like casual. I know. It should be fun though. Like, don't think of it as like, okay, the end goal is we have to get married. Like, obviously that is your end goal, but like if it's a first date, don't put too much pressure on it. You should just be having fun. You're meeting new people and just having a good time. Exactly. So the last reason why you may be settling, which I actually found in an article that a marriage counselor was talking about, and it's repeated family behavior. So this marriage counselor was saying that it's very common for relational patterns to repeat in generational relationships. Mm-hmm. So if our relationship expectations and behaviors are trickled down from family, they're heavily influenced by family, you're going to repeat the same behavior that's happening. Yes. So she was also saying that like to break this, you first have to recognize that you're doing this and then consciously put the effort to like stop settling and stop repeating the behavior. Circle of like, so like if you had a childhood where your parents had a toxic relationship but they stayed together, let's say for the sake of the kids, you're gonna think like, okay, I'm gonna be in that relationship where it's like everything I do, I'm settling in this relationship because I don't want my kids to have divorced parents.
I can relate to that.
You know?
Yeah. So hard. Like my own parents. So obviously my parents had an arranged marriage, okay? My mom did not want anything to do. But back in the day, this was very common. Yeah. Not to like justify it, but this was like how it was.
Well,
and like,
still kind of is common.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom didn't feel like she had an option. She was really young and like her dad passed away when she was young. So her brother was like the father figure, and he decided,
like,
you know,
Bridgerton.
like, yeah, literally, it's like that. It's like
Bridgerton.
Yeah, and he decided like, oh, you're gonna go, and she didn't know how to. My mom grew a lot as a person before she did. She didn't even know how to like put a bank card in. She told me the other day back in the day, so she grew a lot. But anyway, so like my parents, growing up, I love my parents, but they didn't have the most loving, affectionate relationship, and they love each other, but it wasn't the healthiest, and I feel like they stayed because, like, my mom doesn't really believe in divorce. That's not a thing that's common, you know? Yeah. But sometimes that may be the healthier option. For sure. And it also shows your children that if someone isn't treating you right or you're not happy, that divorce is an option. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But gladly, like, I don't necessarily think the way my parents think, so I know,
which is good because you caught the behavior.
Exactly. Like, I think I fight it more. I'm like, oh no. But also it makes me more fearful of relationships because I'm like, I don't want to end up
that's
with
a whole other downhill spiral that we can get into.
But I think you can either see it and be like, whoa, I don't want that for myself, or you can take on the habits, so.
Which happens a lot of times. That's what she was saying. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah. Just wanted to say that. Yeah, it does happen a lot in families.
Okay, so let's move on to signs that you can look out for that you may be settling in your current relationship. Obviously, like, we just went over the reasons, but these are like more concrete signs.
Yeah, like signs to look for, situations that happen.
Exactly. So if you're looking for a reason to get annoyed or to start an argument, so this is a big thing where like, if you're settling in a relationship and you kind of like, you don't realize that you're settling, but you're getting very frustrated with your partner, you start nitpicking at everything that
little
they do.
Things,
everything is very triggering for you and you're always on edge. It was actually proven that that's happening because you don't feel fulfilled in your relationship and you feel like you're missing something, so you're kind of like projecting on them.
You have a big issue, but maybe you don't realize it, but like in the back of your mind it's bothering you. Exactly. So now it's almost like everything that they do is frustrating or annoying or like, so that's a big sign. It's also with resentment because when you start to get annoyed with everything someone's doing or little things like, oh, why are you putting this there? Like, it's like you shouldn't have such a big reaction, but maybe because you're happy in something in your relationship, it's causing you to do that.
Exactly. And this also happens in friendships. I feel like I recognize this more in friendships than I do. Well, I don't, it's not happening in my current relationship, but I feel like I would recognize it more in a friendship, because friendships, it's like if you start getting annoyed, you're like, okay, something's up.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're annoyed in a relationship,
built up.
Yeah, if you're annoyed in a relationship, sometimes you're like, oh, we're just having a fight. We're just having a moment. But like, if you keep having those moments something's wrong here, something's missing.
Yeah, and what is is it something like unreasonable that you're getting mad for? You know, it depends. Small things or...
Okay, so another one. If you want a long-term relationship, but they're not ready to commit just yet. This is huge. I feel like this always happens. And like, obviously, you trust your gut. Like, you can kind of read the situation to know like if they're actually going to be ready to commit at a certain point. Yeah. But don't settle and compromise your need to, like, let's say you really want to get married, you believe in marriage, you want a wedding, and they're like, I don't know about that. Like, don't sacrifice your beliefs in marriage just to make them happy and like kind of stay in the relationship, you know?
But do you want to get married to that person, or do you just want to get married in general? Like, obviously you have to evaluate that.
Yeah, that's why I read the situation.
Yeah, I think it depends with relationships. Like, I think the committing, like, there's always sometimes that issue where one person really wants to, or they want to do it sooner. Sometimes I guess in general men can take longer.
Yeah, it also doesn't need to be marriage. I give that as an example. But like, if you just want a long-term relationship and they're kind of like, I don't know if this is what I really want, blah blah blah. If they're doing that for months,
I think it depends. Okay, why are they doing that? What are like, are they bringing up valuable things that are actually like make sense in their life, or is it just like stupid excuses that like it don't make sense, don't add up, right? And to their actions and everything. So I think you have to evaluate that. But for sure, if it's something that you want and like you're putting like kind of a timeline, or this person is telling you, okay, once I focus on this and this is done, then maybe I'll be ready to focus on a relationship or something like that. So you just have to see, are they sticking to their words? Like, actions, you know, you have to look at someone's actions, because sometimes, you know, words are just words. You can just say anything. So that really depends, but just like evaluate it and see what you want and what the person is saying. How long have you been with them? How was your relationship at the beginning? How is it now? So
And going back to the ultimatum example, a lot of, like I said, a lot of the men were giving the excuse, like, I want to be financially stable before we get married.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, yes,
it can obviously come from pressure. Like
obviously, you want to be financially stable, but the way that the women were reacting, it seemed like they were using it as an excuse. You know what I mean? It's like they just like were scared to actually commit to the person, and that's why they brought them on the ultimatum. There was another couple that they had communication problems where one person was very open in communicating and the other person was like exactly. They had a different communication style.
He though has anger management issues.
100%.
He's toxic.
100%. First I thought they were both toxic to each other though. Yeah.
But first I was like, she like slapped him and stuff. I remember.
Yeah. I was like, this is on TV.
Yeah, I know. I was like, girl, but like, yeah, he's scared. Because at first I was like, oh, he's like wants emotion from her.
I think he has a stutter too though.
Oh, really?
Actually, he kept stuttering. So I think he has a stutter. Yeah. And that did you watch the reunion episode?
Yes. Yeah.
She was talking over him when he was trying to, like, he couldn't get the words out because he kept stuttering. And she was angry. Like, I was like, she needs to fucking chill. Yeah. She was yelling. She's like, see, you always manipulate me. You always talk over me. You always try to
she was frustrated. Yeah.
Which, like, understandably, she's frustrated.
Because he screams a lot.
But he couldn't, like, he stutters so much that he couldn't get a word out. I was like, embarrassed. Exactly. I was like, oh my God, this poor guy. Yeah, but like, also, yes, he has anger management issues. But I think he gets angry when people don't understand his point, and it could be because
of the words you're saying.
But it could be because of the stutter. He doesn't know how to say it, you know?
True.
But anyways, we're not getting into... We keep like going back.
We're using them as an example.
Yeah, but it's because they had so many points that were brought up in relationships that you're like, yeah, this actually happened.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
If your reason for staying in a relationship is because you're scared you won't find someone else, or you're constantly thinking that there might be someone better out there for you. This, I think, comes up in every relationship. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the times, I feel like when you're in long-term relationships and like you've been together for a while, I feel like at some point that thought pops up in your mind because you're like, I want to make sure that I'm actually in love with this person, that I actually want to be with this person. but I'm scared, like, what if, like, especially if you don't have experience sometimes, you're like,
am I missing out?
Yeah. Or, like, even sometimes the partner, I find, brings it up if they're more experienced than you, and they have the fear that you're going to leave them because you don't have the experience.
They're like, you probably want to, like,
exactly
have different, like...
And I've heard it from different people that comes up in the relationship, which, like, honestly, like, yes, you should be thinking about it, you know? And it kind of goes back to the questions you should be asking yourself if you think, like, you're letting go of your future and stuff like that.
But also, I think it's, like, media and stuff that put it into the partner's heads, because it's, like, if the person isn't necessarily... Because not everyone cares about if they're happy in their relationship, they're having experiences with you. Why do they need to go and,
put thoughts in their mind after, and then they're like, whoa.
Start like, doubting it. But I think that person may have insecurities, or they may think about how they felt when they were dating around, maybe. Or, like, social media talks about it, or, like, different medias. But it's like, I don't think it's always the case. I think it depends. Maybe it could be a good discussion to have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's a good conversation to have, just to make sure that you're both on the same page.
Exactly. Based on the response you can see.
But also, if you're having these thoughts, don't feel ashamed about them, because it's normal to have these thoughts, to kind of, like, navigate that, yes, I'm on the right path. Yes, I want to be with this person.
I think it's good to doubt things, because that's how you are sure about them. And it's good to question, because it's like, you shouldn't just go about everything without questioning, because then you're just, like, kind of just settling into the ideas and stuff like that. I also think, like, when you're dating someone for a long time, you kind of not settle, but, like, you don't want to start something else, because you're like, I put in so much work into this.
You're like, I would waste my time if I start to find someone else.
And you want me to restart.
I wasted my 20s, people say, you know what I mean?
But, like, it's not a waste. That relationship maybe wasn't the perfect one for you, but you learned a lot, you grew, you enjoyed the moments with that person. So I feel like you shouldn't think of it like that. And that's also, it's like, there's a timeline. Oh, I wasted this. I wasted a year. Now I'm a year back. Like, no, just find the person for you.
This one is kind of self-explanatory, but when you're talking about your future together, you don't get excited or you even feel resentful.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a combination of everything we've been saying, where it's like, if you're talking about the future and talking about weddings and you're kind of like,
I don't want to do it, or like, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Like, ooh.
Or you're, because it seems like you're scared to, like, make it official.
Yeah.
Or
there could be a difference between you kind of not, like, scared because it's a huge commitment and, like, don't want it to come too soon type of thing, but you're still gonna talk about marriage and weddings and
exactly. There could be a difference. Exactly. It's like, oh, is this person right for me, or am I just a bit nervous to step into that part of my life?
Exactly. So you're not nervous about the person. You're nervous about the next chapter of your life.
Exactly. But then if you're nervous about the person,
exactly, that's when you start questioning, what am I doing here?
Or even if you, like, start comparing them maybe to other relationships you've had in the past, you're like, oh, those ended, but, like, I feel like I had more fun with this person, or, like, I could see myself. And
I feel like that's normal at the beginning of a relationship, but when you're
but if you're like about to marry this person, or like,
and you're like, I don't know about that.
I like the other guy.
Yeah. Okay, so Afi was kind of saying this, but if you feel pressure to move along in your relationship because of external factors, so like marrying at a certain age, having kids at a certain age, societal pressures, like all of that, obviously you need to evaluate that and make sure that that's not the reason why you're staying in your relationship.
Exactly. I think the kids thing is so tough though, because we are like on a biological clock in a way. Like, even though there's a lot of technology, some people don't have the resources to use those technologies or the
time too.
Yes, exactly. And you never know if it's gonna work or not. So I feel like that's like a big thing for women who want to be mothers. It's like, oh, if I'm with someone too in a relationship and I'm like nearing my 30s or whatever, I'm like, am I gonna go break up with it? Like, it's so tough.
So actually, I'm watching Selling Sunset now. Did you watch
it all? I'm done with it.
I'm like so annoyed.
They're dragging
I keep
now.
watching it. So Mary and Romaine.
Yes.
He is 28. She's 41.
Yeah.
She already has a kid. She had a kid when she was 16.
I always forget.
Yeah, I know. She had a kid when she was 16, so she's kind of like, I don't know if I actually want another child. Because she's
starting
right now.
like her independent life again.
Exactly.
Like,
but he wants a child, obviously, and she had discussed about freezing her eggs, I think.
Yes.
But now...
And starting the process.
Exactly.
Like,
and starting it, but it's a like, honestly, it takes a toll on a woman's body. So now she wanted to put it on pause because she's like, she just got promoted. She has a lot more responsibility. And she's like, I can't be hormonal. Like,
yeah, she was
people,
exactly. Yeah.
Right? Which understandably.
Because hormones do like that.
Exactly. Understandably. But I feel like now it's on his side where he feels the pressure. He's like, I'm 28. This is the time to have kids. Exactly. Like, we need to do it now.
And he's never had that experience.
Exactly.
And he maybe wants to be and they're also married already. Like,
yeah. So I think
shit.
that's the pressure is more on him now because he's like, this is the age I should be doing this.
Exactly.
Which necessarily for men, no.
Yeah, because I think you have way more time.
Yeah. But it's
then
just
maybe it's because it makes it for more difficult as she
because
ages.
She's 40 already, so it's
tough.
You know?
That's a unique situation.
It is a unique situation. But that's kind of like the thoughts you should be having. Like,
because if she hadn't had a child, then maybe it would have aligned perfectly, you know?
But she's already been a mother. She is a mother, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, so another reason you justify or have an excuse for everything about your relationship when you're talking to others.
Yeah. Like if you have to be like, oh, because this is not, we did this because...
If you're talking about, if you're saying a story and they were kind of like...
plainly just
they kind of have a reaction to what your partner has done. And you're like, oh, but don't worry, it's because of this. Yeah. And you're constantly doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you have to be able to say this... Because if you keep justifying it, then you're already... putting an opinion into the person's mind. How can they be like neutral and give their thing if you're directing it in a certain way? Like you want them to agree with you or you want them. So it's like it's not like no, but I do it too.
When I'm in a fight, I'm like, but it's because of
this. Yeah, exactly. Like I get it. But I guess it's just sometimes if you do that a lot or constantly or like...
But it could also be you just talking about your relationship and like...
You maybe analyzing at the same time.
Exactly. And then you're like, shit, that sounds bad. Let me cover it up with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to notice these little things. When are you doing it? Like, are you doing it a lot?
Yeah.
Like, is it unreasonable? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you just have to know.
Exactly. Okay. And then the last thing, you compare your relationship to other people's relationships. That's a huge thing. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like everyone does that. But the thing you have to recognize is that's not you and your partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have different personalities, you have different lifestyles, like you have different ways that your lifestyles mesh together. Exactly. You can't compare your lifestyle and your relationship to the other people's relationship. Exactly.
I guess it depends, like, is this something you're constantly doing or is it just a certain thought you have? Let's say you see someone on social media, like they just got engaged and you're like for 2 seconds. But if this is just randomly popping up into your head, is it because you're unhappy?
Yeah. And it's like, what are you comparing?
Is it your value? Like, is it because, this person got married and you want to get married? Like, it just depends what it is. And you just have to analyze like why you're doing, because I know now it's really easy to compare and you're doing it without even thinking. And that can cause
resentment because you're like, oh, look at their relationship, it's so much better than ours. Exactly. And it's because you're not doing this.
Exactly. You know? But then maybe you need to find a new partner that's gonna do this and this. So it all comes down, I think, to your core values. And like, is that person able to have most of them and what you want? Yeah. Because if you're compromising your core values, then you're just doing a disservice to yourself. And it's like not the way to go.
Exactly. I think the overlying message that I want to put out is what we said at the beginning, where compromise does not equal settling.
Exactly.
And settling does not equal compromise every other way, because for all the reasons we just said, like you should be compromising in relationships, but over minor things, not like your core values.
Exactly. And a compromise, you have to remember what the definition is. It's not a one-sided thing. Exactly. It's meeting halfway, both having things that you're working on, but like not your non-negotiables. Non-negotiables mean they're not negotiable.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this or nothing.
I think you should identify also what they are for you. Because I don't think about them like, you think about like, oh, I want this in a person. But non-negotiables are different. They're like things... They're not just personality traits. They're like things I want in my relationships. So. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's the end of the episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We love doing like self-help advice type of topics, things like that. We hope you guys like it. Let us know if you like this topic. If you have any other advice or experiences, we'd love to hear. And make sure to obviously like, subscribe on YouTube, leave any comments. You can follow us on Wild Thoughts Pod, TikTok also. On our individual Instagram pages and social medias. And we're open to any feedback. Leave us reviews on Spotify or any other platform. And that's pretty much it.
Yes. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.